Welcome back to Unlocking Our Code podcast. In part 2 of this deeply personal series, we return not only as the daughters, but as the women who now understand. Women who have chosen compassion, women who are learning to hold both the ache and the truth. This episode is a continuation of the journey we started, moving from the raw grief of not being fathered into the sacred reclamation of what the absence left behind. Hi, Lou.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm good. I'm happy for this one. This is like the good part.
Right? It's a little bit less emotionally charged.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, definitely. I feel like the other one was it was our raw truth, right? We were expressing where we were at, how we felt. So it definitely wasn't not an easy episode in any way for us to record.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It took me back and feeling again. And feeling is not always fun, but we have to do it. So
yeah, part of it, right? So now in this episode, we want to touch a little bit on, on the women that we are now, the women that is now understanding the man in our father, right? The one we definitely understand that our fathers wanted to do it right, but had no clue how to.
Yep.
Right?
Yep,
Support, the knowledge, the tools were not there.
Exactly.
And now we understand that it's not because, they didn't love us, but because they couldn't see further than the beliefs that had been passed down from generation to generation. Also, they probably could not see beyond their own ego and beyond their own pain, their own crisis within them, right? And so I think that is definitely an important conversation to have, to not only speak from the truth of the daughter, but now from the truth of the wise woman in us, that both versions of us coexist, they're walking next to each other.
Yeah.
None of them are, the daughter's not walking ahead or the wise woman either. They're just walking side by side to create peace in this topic, right?
Yes, exactly. I think it's super important to because I think we in the last episode we were talking about how it's not that we're placing blame or pointing fingers or wanting to make our fathers look bad or fathers look bad, but like you've mentioned, it's understanding now, and that's what we're going to dive into this one, is understanding them as a human being, right? And how we started to heal, how we had to reparent ourselves, what we needed, how we got there, how grieving has taken place in our lives, how we grieve, because we're grieving the father that we didn't have, and that's totally normal, and honoring our pain and stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so let's first dive into the crisis within the father a little bit, right? Just to touch on it. The emotional suppression, the generational disconnection, and the inherited silence in men.
Yeah.
How do you feel like that has played in your own journey with your own dad?
Wow. I feel that his own, I guess we'll call it his emotional crisis, right? I mean, that's what we all have. I think that for my dad, it was definitely, and this is something that I just want to point out, that I learned this in my late 30s. Like, I learned how to see him like this and understand this part of him in my late 30s, literally, like maybe within the last four years, right? Like, I'm 41 now, so yeah, it was definitely my late 30s when I started to understand this and see him. This is how I started my healing with him, is just seeing him and understanding that my dad, he's not just a dad, he was a man, he was a child also, right? Who had to survive things that most people couldn't even imagine that they'd have to survive, right? A lot of things that come with him is like, he was one of, I want to say it's 13 siblings, to be honest. And I hope I'm not messing that one up, but I want to say it's like 13 siblings. You know, he was raised in like some rural mountain out in Mexico, in Guanajuato, for literally for a long time. They lived out of a cave, like a literal cave. That's what he was raised in. My dad wasn't allowed to go to school. He really wanted to, and he wasn't allowed. He started working the fields and crops and animals at age 5 or 6. And he was he had to. Like, that was just his life. He had to. Around between 16, 17 or 18, he started dating my mom, immigrated to the U.S., had to figure it out, had no guidance, support from his siblings, but really no emotional tools. There's no love shown to him as a child. There's no affection. There's no tenderness, no roadmap to how to be a father. It was just survival. You just have to survive, figure it out, literally out there. So I had to understand that. I had to see that I had to see him as that child. I had to see him as that teenager, and then as that man that he grew up to be. And then I had to realize, like, how could he have known to be something that he was never shown to be? Like, I had to see that, right? It's like, I finally saw the child in my dad, right? Mm-hmm. And I had to be able to do that in order to forgive him for being the man that he is now. Mm-hmm. And so that's the I guess the crisis that he was in. Mm-hmm. That was how he was brought up. That's what he had to survive. One of many kids, and his parents emotionally disconnected, just survival mode. We're just surviving. I don't know, figure it out here, eat this, go back to work. I don't know how people survived. I don't know how he did it, but to me, it's like I had to understand that, you know, that I had to hold that compassion for my dad, because I could see that scared boy. I could see that hardened man that he became, and he did what he best could with the very, very little minimum that he had. And so those are the things that, you know, help me see, and now I understand that what he carries. Those are the things that my father carries, and I had to learn that. Like, I mean, I had to see that, and it's hard for someone to see that when you hold so much anger and resentment. And so I was like a young teenager till like my late 30s. I was holding resentment for a long time with him.
Yeah, many years of that. I feel like, our story is very definitely similar. For me, seeing all that information at the beginning, seeing him from that point of view was helping me find peace. It was like the initiation for me to find peace. But for me, it was very difficult to break through that. Even with seeing that information, it still took many years for me after that. Even after seeing him as a child, even after understanding his trauma, because my inner child was very, very wounded. Yeah. Like, she had no space for any other information at that moment than her pain. She could not see him, even though she's seen him and understood all that information. The pain was just too intense.
Do you feel like you had that, like that pain was there and not letting you be able to see him with compassion? Do you feel that it was there because you were not allowing yourself to feel?
No. I feel that it was because there was no space in that pain. It was so big that there was no space for me to allow my inner wise woman to step in and like see the information. This actually, like I was telling you in another episode, I was finally able to see him 2 weeks ago after we had a very intense conversation, and where I want to say that what helped me in that moment was that he put his shields down and he was like open to connecting. Maybe I want to say that that's the reason I accepted it and I was able to see him, is because he just spoke from a place of truth. No longer made excuses, no longer anything, just simply like said his truth, cried, and like I was able to see the man in him, like, okay, he is too hurting, right?
Yeah.
He is hurting as well. So that gave space for my inner child to begin feeling safe. I began feeling safe with him in that moment because he opened up like he had never opened up before, right?
Yep. And I think that's exactly what we would talk, like we talked about. The last one is the feeling safe, emotionally safe, you know?
Yeah.
We as a child, not only women, but men also, we don't only need our fathers to be providers. We need them to give us a safe place. Make us feel safe. Give me a safe place where I can share with you emotionally, and you're not going to reject me. You're not going to ignore me, or, you know what I mean? You're not going to make fun of me because of what I'm feeling. The moment a father does that, it's just, we no longer feel safe, right? We start putting up our walls. We want to protect ourselves and stuff like that. So I think that was huge. Like, that was a huge breakthrough for you guys.
Yeah. I felt like in that moment, he finally seen me. Like, he finally seen me. He understood where I was coming from, because we were talking about a very difficult topic, and I just started opening up about my pain and saying, you know, like how I felt this whole time. And he no longer made excuses anymore. He just simply said, I understand you. He no longer was trying to protect anybody else other than just being present. He was present with me as a man, and he was hearing me, and he was honoring what I was saying without making, like I said, excuses for anything. He simply said, I understand. I see you. I wish things would have been different in his own kind of words. But yeah, it was just like it was a beautiful moment. I felt like once we had that conversation, it kind of made space for the wise woman to come in and be able to, bring balance, you know, because before, no matter what I was doing, and I did a lot, it was just not lifting. It would lift, but it would come back, lift and come back, lift and come back. So then that was telling me there's still not balance in me, right? Why do I feel fine one moment and then another moment I'm not fine? So it's like it was just no strong balance there. And that's after that happened, I feel like like you said, it created safety and just truth. Honestly, his truth and him expressing himself is once he did that, it's like he told my nervous system, you can feel safe now. Yeah.
Well, I love that for you, honestly, because I know exactly what that feels like. I feel like that conversation that I had with my dad, and I talked about it in the last one, it definitely helped me move forward. I feel like I was already doing the work prior to that. That's why I felt like I can go and tell him. The thing is that when I went to talk to him, when I said I'm going to have this hard conversation with him, and I'm going to say everything that I feel that I need to tell him, and I wasn't mad, I wasn't raging, I wasn't trying to offend him or disrespect him in any way. I was just wanting to talk to him. I'm very glad that he was just open and to listen. But that day I said to myself, don't expect anything. Like, I had no expectation, zero. I said, don't expect him to say sorry. Don't expect him to understand. He's probably not going to understand. He's going to come up with some crazy excuses. Like, it's just, you know, to protect himself and his ego and his emotions, whatever. So I wasn't expecting absolutely anything. The fact that he expressed himself the way he did, and again, similar to what you were mentioning, that your conversation with your dad, the fact that he was able to understand where I was coming from and be raw and honest and say, I'm sorry, I don't know how to give you what you're asking me for. I never learned. I don't have those tools. I was never given those tools. So I can't give you something that I don't know what it looks like, you know? Seeing him be honest in that moment was really helpful for me to continue into my healing. But I will tell you that I think more than anything, what pushed me there in my late 30s already was definitely the fact that I was raging out of control. Like I'd mentioned before, every time I spoke about my dad, I was angry. I was like literally making my body, my voice shake, everything, every time I spoke about him. And I would see it. I was very aware of that. And I would just say like, see, look at, even talking about my dad makes me so angry, you know? Mm-hmm. And then, and that was just overwhelming. And then I was starting to project all of that pain into my marriage, into my relationship. And saying things like blaming my husband for things that I was imagining that he was doing that reminded me of my dad. And then, but the thing that was, this was the moment that I was like pivotal for me, was when I realized that I would always say, I do not want to be like my father. I don't want to be like him. I want nothing to do with him. I even told him, I remember in a conversation, an argument with him prior, I told him, I never want to be like you, ever, ever. I pray to God that he never makes me like you. And then I saw myself be exactly like him. Just work, buried myself in work. I buried myself in work. And then I would come home and I'd say, don't expect anything from me. Like, I work, I bring money, don't ask me for anything. And that was like my husband, and those were my kids that I was saying that I was being that to. And I would say like, no, I make money. Like, don't ask me for nothing. Don't expect emotional nothing from me. You know, I was hardened. I was hard. People would now look at me, people that I used to work with, that's actually told me like, Lou, I see a huge change in you. Like, you're open, you're more soft. You are open to love. You're telling people you love them when before you're like, F this, F love, F that, you know? Mm-hmm. And I see that, you know? And so anywho, I saw what I was doing. I was becoming exactly what I was saying I didn't want to become. And that's when I realized like, I need to do some deep work, because I'm falling into this hole, and I just keep burying myself into it. And I started doing the work. I started doing inner child work, started to realize that it was me. It was my inner child that was still in pain, that was still needing to be seen, to be loved, to be emotionally connected. I had protected myself and said, I didn't need a man. I didn't need my dad. I don't need that type of love from, like you mentioned, from the male perspective, like screw man, you know, that hardened shell. And it all came from there. Mm-hmm. So I had to do that deep work, and it came, not all of it, but a lot of it came from my father, from having to learn who he is, having to see him. Mm-hmm. And that's where I finally was able to see him and hold that compassion. I had to go through all of that in order to be here.
A lot of pain, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of pain. What do you think happens when we stop blaming and start understanding, right? Because for a big part of my journey, I felt like I was just blaming him for everything, blaming him for the way I felt about men, blaming him about my actions, blaming him at everything I projected onto others. I mean, he was, if I could, he was the source of
my target for everything.
For everything that happened in my life, everything, right? I'm mad because of him, right? So when we stopped blaming, because there was a part in our journey, right, when we both stopped blaming him, Mm-hmm. So we could have not been completely. I wasn't at a point where I had peace yet, but I did stop blaming. I did stop saying, I did catch that in myself, that I was blaming and I was projecting, and he was my excuse, right? And once I seen that, I was like, I have to start taking responsibility of my own life. I mean, this energy or his name or, you know, his title has this much control in my life, like to the point that now I'm acting from this place on every area in my life. And when I stopped blaming him, I started seeing my own self. I started it was like the mask fell in that moment. That mask that I was wearing, okay, if I have someone to blame, then I don't have to look at myself, right? So because I had him to blame, then it took all the responsibility from looking at myself, right? So I definitely think that that's also like a pivotal moment in our lives, is when we stop blaming them.
Yeah. And how many people live their lives and continue to live their lives and will continue to stay in that it's almost like a level that you just can't pass. You know what I mean? You're just going to stay in that level of like, I had a screwed up childhood. My dad wasn't available for me. My dad was not there. My dad this, my dad that. So all the screwed up shit that I'm doing is excusable because look at my childhood. And so many people stay in that mindset. And like you said, it's really just not having that awareness or taking that responsibility for your own actions. Because if you are so aware to where you can say, I survived this childhood and not all this happened to me, and all, if you can say that, then you're very much in a moment where you can say, okay, but I don't have to continue making these decisions. Like your self-awareness is really good at that point. You just don't want to look the other way, which is like literally the mirror that's looking back at yourself. Right? You just want to keep saying like, oh no, it's their fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. There's people that don't even understand why they are how they are. Some people are living some crazy dysfunctional cycles, but they don't understand that it's because of their childhood. Or they don't want to see it. It's so buried that they just can't even understand it, right? And I think that's a different level of not having. That's a way different level when you still have to unbury that and then bring that to the surface and have them see it. But if you are so aware that you know that your actions have a lot to do because you had such a whatever childhood, if it was dysfunction or emotionally unavailable, then you are pretty aware that you can make that decision. Like you have that awareness already. It's there, right?
A decision away from a life shift.
From a cycle breaking, from a complete life shift, right? And I think what it does is it's freeing. It's so freeing when you understand that you are no longer tied to some sort of quote unquote life because of what happened to you in your past. You're not tied to that. You know what I mean? You can make a different decision. You can change your path. You can take whatever path you want now. So it's just freeing.
Yeah. It's like that saying that goes, you're not responsible of what happened to you in childhood, but you are responsible of the healing. That is your responsibility, right? Because it's your life. At the end of the day, it's your future. It's your life. Who would, like, I don't understand why we wouldn't want to change. If we're a decision away, why we wouldn't want to change that, right? But also, the other question is, how can the woman in us now, right, mother the inner child that was wounded from our father, but all while honoring the masculine? Like that was a question that kind of like that I felt like that was good, right? Like how can we create that? Some of the things I have is that we can create that by creating safety where there was once none, and we could do that ourselves. Yep, I could create safety within me, right? Protecting my own inner child and my own children now, right? Giving my inner child the connection that she always longed for with my father. I am responsible giving her that now, and no longer waiting for my own father to show up in the way she needed, because to be realistic, he's not going to. No one knows my inner child better than me. No one. He's not capable of knowing what my inner child needs. He could only give me what he knows how to give me, but in reality, it's I who has to give that, right? Also, another thing is speaking our truth, even when it's hard, is very healing as well, and showing up present for our own selves now, right? If we had a father that could not show up and be present with us, but now we have that choice. Now we can actually show up present within our own selves. If we were abandoned as children, if we didn't have connection with our fathers or whatever happened, look at how you're doing it to yourself now. Your father's not doing it to you anymore, but how are you doing it to your own self? How are you abandoning your own self? How are you still not connecting with your own self? That's actually the longing that we have now as adults. As adults, there is a longing because we still haven't made the actual connection, right? That's why that's still very alive, because once you connect with you and you don't need anything.
Yeah.
Right? And when we're still needing things, it's because we're still missing to connect.
Something
within ourselves.
For sure. I mean, I definitely feel that learning to be I guess, I don't know, to be fathering myself, but I some point in this whole journey, I guess, I realized that I can't go back. I can't go back anymore and get the father that I needed when I was a kid, right? I just can't. But I can be a protector, a provider, and be my own presence that I always wanted, right? I can now check in on myself. I can be the one who tells myself, I'm proud of you. Like, it's words that I tell myself all the time now. I'm the one who tells myself, like, yeah, I am enough. Like, what I'm doing is enough. What I am is enough. And I don't need to earn anybody's love. Like, I love myself, you know? I'm proud of myself. I love myself. I'm enough. It definitely wasn't easy for me. But I was able to build that safety for myself. I was able to learn how to give that to myself. And it made me feel whole, like as a child, and as a grown adult, because I still was, again, looking for that in all the wrong places, taking the bits and crumbs that I could find, and still wanting that validation, still fantasizing about the dad that I wish he could be, the father that I wish he could, I was still saying, like, why can't he just come hang out with us and sit with us and chat and laugh? And, why can't he just come to one of my kids' games? Or why can't he just come to an event of, or why can't he just come hang out with us on our birthdays? Still, those type of things were still crossing my mind. And now, like you said, those things are now, I accepted that that's not happening, and that's okay, so those things, it's okay. So, but all these things that I had to learn for myself, to give back to myself, to check in, to tell myself these words, like, I am proud of you. I am enough. I love myself. I don't need to earn anyone's love, and I don't need anybody's validation anymore. All those things were super helpful. I think it's super important to be able to learn how to do that for ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like, taking responsibility and truly looking at ourselves it's key to everything, right? And with that, we do have a guest with us here tonight, and we want to introduce him quickly so that we can chat further on this conversation. We have my husband as a guest. His name's Francisco, and we invited him because we would love to get an opinion on the male's perspective. We have a few questions that we want to ask. He's not just the father of our children. He's a man who's actively doing the work to heal, to be present, and to offer something different to our family line. So, we invited him into this conversation because his presence alone is just a form of medicine. He doesn't share from a place of perfection, but just from a place of deep willingness, right? So, welcome, babe.
Yes.
Hi, Frankie.
What's up?
Welcome. Yes, we are happy to have you here.
Thank you for the invitation. And before we start, I just wanted to tell you guys that I'm happy and proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For everything that you guys are doing as far as the podcast, and also for within yourselves, because it's not easy.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we did want to pick at your brain. We have a couple questions for you. We think that a male's voice is important, especially in this topic. The first question we have is, how did your relationship with your own father shape the way you show up as a dad today?
So it shaped me, the way I give, what I didn't get from my own father, that I'm giving to my children is connection, presence, love, and affection. Pretty much saying I love you to them, the importance of that. Learning my dad's mistakes. Not only that, but just being observant of my own mistakes too. Pretty much what you guys were talking about earlier. And owning up to them. So I've always told myself I wasn't going to be like my dad, which I realized that I was becoming him as I had my children. And I I realized that what I was doing to them I didn't like, so I had to own up to that and change that. And one thing that I didn't get, that's important, is just being present with your children and getting to know them, and hearing them out without being, judgmental, because sometimes when they express themselves to us, you automatically judge them because you're like, well, you didn't suffer like I did. So this is nothing.
Yeah, that's a famous one.
But that's a good awareness to have.
Yeah. So, but yeah, just being, I mean, the most important thing is just learning how to be connected with your children. Sometimes it's hard, going through your daily life, every day, like going to work, coming back home, you're tired, exhausted, physically and mentally drained, but just trying to dedicate that 1 hour of being present with your children, or at least trying to be conscious of you being there for them, like catching yourself, like have I checked on them this week or this month, and that's what taught me and shaped me to be, I wouldn't say a better father, but just doing more extra than what my parents provided for me.
Yeah, for sure. How about, where do you feel like emotions were welcomed or silenced in your childhood, and how has that affected your ability as a man to connect emotionally with your kids?
Well, yeah, being vulnerable and expressing yourself, asking for help. So one thing, when I grew up, I mean, me as a growing up, we were easily shut down. Like, if we wanted to express ourselves, that was an option. Like, they just shut us right up. Expressing ourselves, pretty much what you might have probably caught yourself as a parent when your kids are expressing themselves and you tell them, well, that's nothing. Like, I suffered more. So who cares what you are going through, right? So that and asking for help, like my parents taught us that we had to do things on our own. Like there's not gonna be people around to help you, so you have to do it like on your own. So I grew up not asking for help, and we all need help, either mentally, physically. We all need help, or at least that person to express or talk to, and so right now I'm learning how to express myself and being able to like being open on how I feel about things, because I was taught to, just keep your mouth shut. Don't like.
And I feel that, when as men, when that has been what not the pattern, but the program, right, behind the male, to that deeply affects the ability to connect with the children, right? When they've been under that program all their life.
Yeah.
Right? Where they don't feel safe to express themselves, where they were like in your story,
survival mode,
shut down on survival. You were just taught to survive,
figure it out,
suppress. And then one day you become a father, right? Men become fathers, and then you're just expected to know how to connect when nowhere in the upbringing was that modeled, right? So I think that's where there's a lot of the disconnection too, right? Where the male being aware that there is a possibility for them to learn how to speak up, learn how to use their voice, and that there is tools out there that can help them not stay silent anymore, right? So that this doesn't get passed on to the children. I feel like, yeah, that's important for a lot of men. That was their story, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot of survival mode. I mean, I don't know, do you guys feel that do you feel like it was that generation of the parents of the baby boomer parents that were always on work mode because work was important, work was sacred, and so all the kids that were born from that were like on survival mode because parents were always like working, because work was sacred. You don't miss work. Work is like you don't miss it. You go to it. You don't question nothing. So then their kids were raised that way. So then we're like on survival mode, and now we have kids and we are parenting still from survival mode, still in that we weren't taught anything else. So it's like a generation thing, a generational thing. I feel like the awareness is a lot better. Maybe I want to say starting in our generation, the millennials, but I don't know if I'm giving myself too much credit.
No,
but you know what I mean? I feel like the awareness kind of started because now you see it and you hear it. And so I feel like the generation after us is, I'm hoping, so much better, right? And in coming into that, where it's not so much of like work is sacred and what you say doesn't matter, and I had it harder and I don't know, figure out and survive, so I don't think it's that much more, but we're still seeing the effects of it. But unfortunately there's a lot of people that, like us, I could say that we have really great self-awareness now, but then there's so many people that still haven't been able to even touch the surface, to even realize what is running their lives, like what software are they on that they're still like, why am I still in this cycle? I don't understand. And everyone like us were like, well, what do you mean? How do you not see what where it comes from? But going back to the parents working a lot, that's something that, I mean, I'm pretty sure we all suffer from that, but that's something that we went through, all of our siblings.
that our parents worked a lot. I mean, like Monday through Saturday, it was like I wouldn't see them. They would leave at 6, 7 in the morning, and they wouldn't return until 11. So, you know, we were alone, unsupervised, and I mean, just now that I'm an adult, I see that like, man, I could see why they didn't talk to us or they didn't tell us anything, because they were exhausted, mentally, physically. They're exhausted. All they wanted to do is just come home, rest, and then just get ready for the next day to grind. And as a child growing up, I mean, not having your parent present or even like physically present there, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And every sibling, they will either take it as a good, well, not a good or bad, but they'll take it differently. And one thing I took it as is, like with my kids, is that I wasn't gonna make work my priority. Like, of course, it's important, you know, to be financially like good, but I wasn't gonna have work as my priority. Like, I was gonna dedicate my time to be there with my kids and my partner, my wife, and just, you know, live life with them, you know, experience every moment and cherish every moment. So that was something important, and she knows. I've always told her this, that was something very important to me to do as a parent. So
you no longer wanted to just survive. It sounds like you were exhausted of just surviving. You were a child who was just exhausted from just surviving, and you know, now as adults, thankfully, we have that choice to no longer live in just survival. We're not here on earth to just survive. And when we remember that as humans, as parents, as fathers, as mothers, I mean, we break the chains, right? When we remember that we were not born just to survive. There's no way. We came here to thrive as well, right? And I think that our generation, we are the ones that live that, right? Our generation live those things, and now we are the generation that's saying it ends with us. Like, we do not want to repeat this cycle of children abandoned, of children emotionally starving, of children being isolated, and work being a priority. We got that message very clear. Most of our generation has that message very clear, and we do not prioritize work. I mean, yes, we could get lost in between the journey sometimes, but I think that our foundation is there because we return home, right? We go back home to what we were meant to, and that's definitely important. I did want to touch on guilt as a father, right? If you have ever felt guilt or shame around your role as a father, and how do you process that as a man? Like, how do you process when those big feelings of shame and guilt come around?
So yes, I felt guilt for following the same beliefs as my parents did, because my kids had to experience my experience as a child, and I did not. It didn't feel good with me, and I felt their pain as I was as a child. So, like, one thing that I stopped, and that was a breaking point of me following my parents. Not my parents. Well, my parents, but mainly my dad. Is the physical discipline. I caught myself doing that to my children, and I realized, like, oh fuck, you know, I'm becoming my dad, you know. So that was the breaking point. So that's, and not only that, but I started to catch on to all the things, all the beliefs that my parents imprinted on me, and I was doing the same to my kids. And so that's where sometimes I'll catch myself consciously, or sometimes my wife will kind of point it out, like, hey, like, you know, you're doing this to the kids, you know, or like, is this something that you think it's the right way? Or so she makes me think and analyze like what I'm doing to my kids, and just owning up to what I was doing, following those beliefs and questioning those beliefs, like, and there's like sometimes, you know, we forget how we feel, us growing up with our children, what we do with them, and sometimes you have to kind of pause and question yourself, like, is this something that you would like as a child? Like, is this, you know, is this something that you would make you feel bad or shameful or like a bad child, you know? So yeah, so I felt guilt just following my parents' beliefs.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That's that was a breaking point for me too, when I started seeing myself being just like what I said I didn't want to be. You know? Yeah.
How we were now we were turning into those versions of their own demons, right? But the beauty of all of this is that there is a way to process that, right? There is healthy ways to process guilt and shame, right? It doesn't have to be, yes, the information is there, and when you see it, it hurts, right? It's dark in that moment, but also to remember that there is healthy ways to process that. It doesn't have to be by blaming yourself or creating more guilt and more shame than what you already carry. The beauty of it is once you see it, like you said early, you can't unsee it, right? And when you didn't know better, you can't do better. But the moment you have, you see it in that moment on, I mean, you have to take responsibility after that, right? You see it, you're conscious, making a different choice is what breaks the cycles and the patterns, right? Like my husband said, don't repeat what was done to you and what once felt horrible in you, right? Exactly. With your own children. And what helps you stay emotionally present with our kids even when it feels hard or unfamiliar?
By feeling the emotion, instead of ignoring it or numbing it with, you know, food, alcohol, or anything. That sometimes people do other things, like they exercise excessively, or, you know, stuff like that. But just numbing it or suppressing it. So one thing I started to learn, and I learned it from my wife because she started to heal, is just feeling the emotion. Because sometimes I would try to ignore it or suppress it. So me feeling the emotions would help me release it, and then also like reflect on it, and making hard conversations with my kids, knowing it will make both of us, as a parent and as a child, uncomfortable. Because sometimes there was times I caught myself that I didn't want to have that hard conversation with my child, like my daughter, my son, and I would ignore it, and I would catch myself. So I would have to, like, kind of, be brave and go for it. Because, sometimes, either you might overthink that it's uncomfortable, but it ends up being, it always ends up being good, because not only you ask that question, or you have that hard conversation, but you release, like, if it's, you're not overthinking it all the time, you're not repeating it in your head.
Yeah.
Like, if you could have had that conversation with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, having those conversations, it's very key and important, because I've had a couple, and even sometimes talking to them about your childhood, not making it a difference, like, oh, I lived a harder life than you, but just expressing what you went through, like, and sometimes they'll have like, they'll appreciate that, So
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, and I feel that what you said is medicine in itself, right? Like, learning to feel the emotion for men, it's key, right? For the fathers, learning to move through it. That is just information that can move through you. It doesn't, you don't have to project it, you don't have to numb it, that there is healthy ways, right? Just as simple as sitting and feeling the emotion. That's the medicine. There's no hard way, no hard path to that other than feeling, right?
Yeah.
Also, what is your fuel, your purpose for being a connected father?
Having love, trust, and being that safety for them, that making sure that I'm safe for them to like talk to me, or just to be around me sometimes, and to count on me when they are in need of help, or sometimes just listen. Because I remember growing up, sometimes my mom would be there to just for her to listen to me, So yeah.
Now you're making me cry.
I know, guys. Thank you guys so much for sharing your guys' life, your guys' the way you see things. Because we know, like, this one, like we said, it's just one of those things where not only do we have to go back and look at our childhood and look at our wounded inner child and bring them back to the forefront and feel all of that. But we also have to look at ourselves as a parent and look at our child. And see everything that we went through with them, and the decisions we made with them, and the decisions, like Frankie says, that you feel guilt for. So it's just pain after pain after pain that we're bringing up. It's raw, it's real, it's so it's I totally get it. As your wounded child that's still feeling the pain, that you want to honor them and you want to tell them, I'm here for you. But then as your child, which is like, oh man, you know what I mean?
Energy on itself.
Yeah, because sometimes as like, the reason why I said safe is because you want your child to come at you to ask for help if they're like suffering or they're struggling. Not only that, but sometimes they're just going through so much, and they don't have anyone to talk to. So you're there to listen and not judge. And sometimes we're learning because we have our daughter that's she's an adult and she's living on her own, and it's hard to to try to fix her problems, you know. So the best thing is just to just listen and guide them. That's the only thing that you could do, because, you know, just like how we had our journey and our experiences, they're gonna have their own. As much as you want to protect them from getting hurt or having the same experiences as you did, as, you know, being hurt or shame, guilt, or whatever, they're gonna go through their own journey. But as long as you're there and also, you know, giving them advice, wisdom, you know, because they're not always gonna take all the advice, but just knowing the fact that they'll take some, it's better than nothing.
Or just the fact that they feel safe enough to come to you.
Yeah.
With anything that they have. I think that's gold right there. And those are things that, you know, I feel like I've been experiencing with my kids as they're getting older, that I keep telling myself, I'm so proud of you, and telling myself, because my kids are coming to me with things that I feel I would never thought that they would be, but it's because I know what I went through as a child in their age. And I know I would never have gone to my parents with these things.
Oh, no.
Never.
No, never.
And so the fact that my kids are coming to me with these things, telling me how they're feeling, that my son, you know, just last week was able to like break down in tears and tell me that he was feeling an overwhelming feeling of guilt, and just broke down in tears. As painful as it is for me to see my son cry and to feel and hear that he's feeling guilty for something that's out of his hands, you know, that literally he's feeling guilty because he sees his siblings wanting to spend time with him, but he's also he's just trying to figure out life right now. He's 18 years old. He's like, I want to go hang out with my friends, but then I want to be with my dad, but then I want to be with my cousins, but then my sisters want me, but then he's like, you could tell he's just overwhelmed. And the fact that my child can come to me and just break down in tears and say, this is what I'm feeling right now. I'm just like, and he's a boy. Again, that belief in my head, it's still there. It's still very rooted in my head, you know? Not saying I don't want him to do it, but I'm just saying I didn't think that that's possible, right? And so, but seeing it happen, I'm just so proud of myself, because I'm like, thank you. I'm somehow, some way, you know, as much as I want to be their safe space, I am giving them a safe space. They can still come to me for these things. That's more than anything in the world for me. That's the connection that we want to build as parents, that you guys are building as parents, that your kid feels that you are their safe space, because we should be their safe space. You know, you as a father should be their safe space. As a mom, we should be their safe. We should, you know, that's what it should be. Our kids should be able to come to us with these things. So, I mean, yeah, you know.
Yeah, creating safety, like, I do want to touch a little bit on that, on how you're saying that your son was able to open up with you like that, right? That is a man coming with his softness to you, right? So when fathers and mothers can hold their son's softness without asking them to harden, that is so sacred. That is beautiful medicine for the next generation of fathers, because they will be fathers one day, and they will be able to hold their own sons with the same love and embracement that you held them, right? So it's sometimes we, even fathers and mothers both, we are too worried about protecting them of external things, right? But when we can protect something so sacred like their softness, that is beautiful. It's beautiful. That is like the highest form of love we can ever offer our children, that they can come with their softness and we can embrace it, not only as a mother, but even as a father. Like I was telling him, you know, you have created such a beautiful safe space for our son. I mean, I didn't grow up like this, so that's why I find it like amusing that my son every night will come and kiss him like with his own little heart. He comes and he kisses him, and I was like, do you know how many fathers don't have that? Like, to you it's normal, you know. It could seem normal because he does it, but for a son to be able to feel soft with his own father, I mean, that's beautiful. And for the son to feel be able to bring his softness with his mother, that no one's asking him to change, that he could just be him, and he's safe. You know, that is beautiful to me. That was coming up for me as you were saying that. So
because I was raised way different than how I'm raising my son. I mean, there's some things that every father naturally, you know, teaches their son, but as far as being there, like, emotionally, like, in open arms, like, that's something I wanted to do different. Something that I didn't do with my father. We do it now, like, as me and as an adult, but it's too late, you know. That's I wanted that when I was young. So me doing that to my kid, my son, or my children, it's amazing. It's a beautiful feeling, knowing that my son could just, you know, come without me. Sometimes we're laying in bed and it's late already, and he's already getting ready, like feeling sleepy, or he's getting ready for bed. He's the one that comes and says goodnight to us and gives us a hug. And to see that, to know that, that's beautiful, you know. And sometimes that's where I catch myself and well, us as parents, is that, you know, we're making changes, you know. So
for sure.
That's
amazing.
The beauty of this journey of fatherhood, motherhood. I
know.
We went into this whole beautiful topic.
I know. It is. It's amazing. You know, I applaud you guys. I've always have. I love you guys. I love how you guys. I learn from you guys. I love watching you guys. You guys are definitely an inspiration. So I applaud you guys and everything you guys do, for sure. And Frankie, thank you for putting yourself out here. For, you know, this isn't, if it's outside your comfort zone, thank you for, like, coming on and being so raw and open. And I know that it brought you guys to tears. It brought us all, because again, it's something so sacred, right? It's so honest. And so I definitely feel that that the information you shared is information that a lot of people want to hear, they want to relate to, or they're going to relate to. But I think it's definitely, this whole episode, this one and the last one, right, is about the whole father. I don't know if we would call it father wound, or just, I'm not really sure what we're going to call it yet, right? So I'm not even going to give that. But I just think, like, more than anything is not about, like, rushing to forgive, right? Like, rushing to forgive is not about that. You don't have to minimize what happened. We don't have to be that bigger person. We don't have to do that. We don't have to stay silent to keep the peace. It's not about that either. It's about honoring your pain. It's about saying it out loud, having that conversation if it's possible, right? It's not always possible. It's not always going to be possible to have a conversation with your father. That is totally, I just want to put it out there, because I know Tivy and I shared that we were able to have a conversation with our fathers, and it's not always going to be possible. So if you can just say it out loud, if you could write it down, if you can journal it, if you can cry for the girl inside you, as we're looking at it as a daughter perspective, right? For this little girl who was waiting for the father that never came, or for that love that never showed up the way we wanted, right? You can definitely honor that pain and hold love for your father. You can grieve the father that you don't have, that you always wanted, and you're probably not going to get. And you can be grateful for the one you have at the same time. So you don't have to choose one or the other, like Tivy says, right? You're allowed to feel absolutely everything. We can still move forward. It doesn't It doesn't mean that it, this whole healing journey doesn't mean that it never existed. It just means that you're free from it. It doesn't control you anymore, right? Yeah. And having Frankie here share his part, like Tivy said at the beginning, he's not coming from a man of perfection, that's for sure. But he's coming from someone who is very self-aware, who wants to change, who is dealing with his own journey, his own healing journey, his own pain. As you guys can tell, it's very raw, for his inner child, for what he wished he had, and for what he is now having to heal in his own way by providing to his child what his inner child always wish he had. I think that's super healing in itself. It's like a whole beautiful circle, that is just kind of, you're healing yourself as you are parenting. I hope that you're able to find a way to reparent yourself. I hope that you've already found the way to go back to your childhood, your inner child, and tell yourself everything you needed to tell, you wanted to hear at that moment. Mm-hmm. I hope you're able to go back and do that. It's very healing in itself. I loved this. This was very, very, it was super powerful, honestly, in every single way. And it makes me feel really good about where I'm at, with my father, who, again, I love dearly. But it just kind of gives me that reassurance that I'm heading the right way, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful episode. And we thank you, babe, for showing up, for your honesty, for your heart, and for walking this path with me. I know how much it matters, not just to our children, but to your own healing. And to every listener, whether you are a father still figuring out, a daughter finding her voice, or someone trying to heal from the silence, just know this: presence matters. It's never too late to turn towards love. Yes. And we thank you for staying to the end.
Yep.
And you know how to find us at Unlocking Our Code podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.